All right, what's going on there, folks? Good Saturday morning, good Saturday afternoon, depending on where you're at. It is the Earthmaster back here on the September 23rd, 2023. A bunch of 23s there in that sequence of numbers, about 11:39 a.m. California time. Latest activity shows a 2.1 into the area of Alaska. We did see some movement overnight here into the Vanuatu area with the latest quake in this region, a 5.1 earthquake just south of this area, Port Vila, right along this plate boundary. That's been a region that has been getting squeezed here over the past couple days with deeper scale activity, earthquake activity here, kind of jumping over this region and hitting this along the plate boundary in the last couple days. So filling in nicely across this area of that plate boundary. But aside from that, the rest of the Kermadec Trench here and the New Zealand region, pretty quiet. Not a whole lot going on out there through that area for now. All right, up around the Indonesia Islands area, let's go ahead and check out, see if we got anything major going on. Just a cluster of 2s and 3s out there, very expected across this area. This region here was quiet yesterday up here around the Andaman Sea area. Looks like we did fill things in there a little bit with the 4.8 in the Myanmar region, north of the Andaman Sea area. That is just off of the plate boundary here to the east by a few miles. Over here across the region of the Mediterranean, looks like a 4.4 out here and a couple other smaller earthquakes. Now this 5.1 showing up on the map, it's around Spain. So the EMSC model does have a tendency, for whatever reason, when it comes to the Spain model earthquake activity, it's probably this one, so it's not a 5-pointer. But over here, across the area of the Mediterranean, we did see a 3.0, and I think we've seen something bigger here. This is going to be this one near Bosnia, 4.3. Moderate earthquake activity occurring within that region. But again, this earthquake, that 5.1 up here around Spain, that's just not a legit earthquake. For whatever reason, these guys tend to throw up some larger magnitudes than what's actually taking place there in that area. Some type of glitch happening somewhere in the system between the servers and the Earthquake 3D program. So hopefully they get that fixed. A little bit of activity across the Morocco region today. Aftershock activity. South American. 2s and 3s are the magic number out here across the Peru-Chile Trench. And let's see what we got here across the Mediterranean. Pretty good cluster, or the Middle American Trench, excuse me. Quite a bit of 3s in this cluster from yesterday. Let's go check out the states, see what we have going on here for the states region. A little bit of activity up here around Mount St. Helens once again from yesterday. Doesn't look like too much activity being reported today. Northern California, pretty spotty. Not a whole lot of activity occurring up here across this region. The Bay Area, getting a little bit of movement off the San Andreas Fault, and some activity here across this area near Patterson. We did see a little bit of earthquake activity out there in the past. Has it been over a week? I think it's been roughly about a week time period. Where we've seen that 4.5 near Wesley, and a couple other earthquakes in there as well. As you can see, that cluster totaling up about 32 earthquakes or so. It did take a little pause here in the last 3 days, but a 3.3 hit there earlier this morning. Pretty shallow, but still within this area of that previous earthquake activity. I mean, it jumped up for a little bit. The largest was a 4.5 in that sequence, but I still think something's brewing out here in between these fault systems. Continue to watch that for some movement. Further down south here, a little bit spottier as we head towards the Garlock Fault shear zone. Not a whole lot going on here across this boundary for now. Let's see what we got for the 2.5 map and above. Aside from this one near Patterson, looks like we did have a 2.8 just outside the Long Valley Super Volcano near Tom's Place. Yellowstone National Park, nothing showing up here on the map. Let me double check that and see what we have here. As far as earthquake activity, this up here, I think this is some type of local interference to this station. I don't see that showing up at all across any of these other local nearby stations. So I don't know if it's wind or if it's maybe over, since like as far as the amplitude goes, it maybe turned up too much. I don't know. But earthquake activity, I don't see any showing up here across the map. Obviously, if it was, we would see it, right? Even sometimes ones and little small microquakes show up at nearby stations, and it's just not happening. Therefore, the 0 up here on the map. All right, further south here, across the Texas area and Oklahoma, these regions have been bouncing back and forth here in the oil fields. Quite a bit of earthquake activity here in the last couple days. Eastern portion of the country, one earthquake there from yesterday in the Madison, Ohio region, 2.1. Doesn't look like we've seen anything else brewing out there, though, in the last 12 hours or so. Up here in Alaska, things have been a little bit more active than normal, I would say. We did see some movement out here across the Aleutian Trench here in the last couple days, and it just seems like this area is filling in with earthquake activity. Now, it's not anything major, some 2s and 3s. There's a 3.4 further up north here of the Alaska range, near Fairbanks to be exact. But it looks as though these earthquakes are getting higher in the multitudes out here across this region. That could be a sign of, definitely some building stress out here across the Gulf of Alaska region. We'll continue to watch that for some potential movement. The Big Island of Hawaii. Well, a little bit of scattered earthquake activity out here around the Kilauea volcano. I honestly don't think we've seen anything overnight as far as any adjustments go. But, there's the weekly update still put out here about 4 days ago as far as Kilauea volcano goes. And Mauna Loa is just, I don't think anything's going on out there across that volcano either. Relatively stable conditions prevailing out there across this area for now, but it won't last long. Let's see what we got. I want to check out the seismograph stations here, see if we got any major activity. Doesn't look like it. A handful of smaller quakes within the vicinity of Mauna Loa, maybe even away from this area. I don't see any harmonic tremor, any fluid movement, any magma movement at all registering on those graphs. All right, space weather activity. What do we got here today? Did see quite a few C flares and a few M flares in the last couple days. We are expecting potentially a G1 class storm over the next couple nights here. Right now, things are pretty neutral across the board. Not seeing any elevated conditions. But we are watching a sunspot here. That's going to be 3445. This area, this is from last night. Let's see what it looks like today. Yeah, this area is it's forming. We're noticing quite a bit of filling in of these dots. Look at these little orange, blue, different color dots indicating complex magnetic structure within this core of the sunspot. Looking pretty dynamic this morning. That is going to be turning into the direct bullseye area, so to speak, of the Earth. Lined up directly here with the Earth. So we'll watch this one here. It's looking pretty fancy. Now this area up here, this 3435, I believe. Let me double check. 3435. That region today still has a little bit of structure around the center core that does harbor some potential for flaring. But I think right now the main area to watch is this region down here, which has taken my eyes off of these other sunspots and kind of focusing on this area here. Again, that's going to be 3435 is the culprit that could be producing some flaring. Right now, 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 60, and X flare remains somewhat elevated there at about 15% chance. The UV filter array here does show this area of interest, a massive sunspot region, and it's getting quite complex there in the within that structure or within that core. All right, what else we got? Kevin's mentioning here, while we wait patiently for the next big solar event, here's a look at sunspot 3445 in the southeast quadrant. The region, which consists of numerous small spots, did see additional flux development today and is producing frequent minor sea flares. A stronger flare could be imminent should the region continue to develop magnetically, which I think it is. It looks a lot more complex. That is a huge sunspot, but it's filling in nicely. We got to watch areas like this because they can grow drastically and produce some very large flares. So keep an eye on 3445, but not too much. It seems like when we observe these sunspots, they just want to behave and neutralize. I hope that's not the case. Hopefully I didn't jinx it, but keep an eye on this area. All right. Weather outlook here today. What do we have for, is it still even a tropical storm? Well, there's the latest radar imagery over here across the North Carolina and Virginia region, getting quite a bit of storm surge over here overnight and this morning across this area. Rainfall right now has moved inland. Looks like the brunt of it, the circulation is right over the area of the North Carolina and Virginia border region. Let's see what we got here for the latest information on. It still shows tropical storm Ophelia. The latest information here, warnings. I'm on them right here. Does show some tropical storm warnings still up in effect for the area in the blue. There's the center of circulation that we've seen on the radar image. So it's inland now, producing quite a bit of rainfall. So probably a windy, rainy day over there, rainy Saturday. But that's awesome. I love rainy day weekends. Perfect day to just relax. If you have a covered porch outside, I'm not even joking. I love the rain and the wind. Call me crazy, but I'm that guy dancing out in the rain and the wind and yelling at the top of my lungs, enjoying the weather. On a sunny, beautiful day, hot temperatures where people would be outside enjoying it, you'll find me inside, staying away from the heat. All right, let's see what else we got. Anything else going on here, folks? I don't think so. The Storm Prediction Center does have a slight chance, it's actually marginal over here. Mostly just rain out there. There's not even a whole lot of lightning associated with that band of rain out there, or with the tropical system now, Ophelia. So the severe weather potential, this almost looks like a springtime setup here across the southern plains, stretching up into portions of, you can see up here all the way up into the northern plains, looking at a 5% chance of tornado probability today. That's quite the big threat out there. Wind and hail events. It looks like the main threat here is going to be some hail. That's the dashed region. That includes areas around the OKC area, Kansas City, Missouri, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Overland Park, Kansas, and Kansas City, Kansas, all in that hatched area. And in that region, you could see some big hail. We're talking about baseballs, maybe even larger. 2-inch diameter hail or larger within 25 miles of a point. So just a heads up for this area. And I believe that's kind of happening right now. Some of it is. Getting a lot of thunderstorms brewing up here across this area of Missouri. Right now stretching up into Iowa. So just a heads up. Quite a bit of lightning. Goodness. All right. Out here along the west coast, well, we got a system coming in here. Going to be bringing a little bit of rainfall. Let me bring up the rainfall totals here. Rain accumulation. Most of this rain from this low pressure system, and it's actually somewhat of an atmospheric river too, tapping into some moisture that's further down within the equator area. There's a small band of moisture stretching up here, but it is going to be bringing some rainfall into the Pacific Northwest. And there's a couple different systems. I'm not liking the signs of this here in the valley. Doesn't look like much here in the valley, but up here across the northern coast of California and Oregon, you guys are talking about inches of rainfall. And, they definitely need it. They have some big fires up here throughout the Pacific Northwest and Northern California. So that will be beneficial. to putting out those fires, hopefully, put an end to those fires that magically start out of the blue. I mean, there's really not much left to burn out here, so, you know, kind of scary. If you're up in the mountains around some beautiful green trees, you might want to keep a, you know, a defensible space, fire space, as far as, you know, the fire prevention goes. But either way, a lot of rain coming up here for the Pacific Northwest. Not so much to California, but at least it's a little bit here in Northern California. Let me see if I can pull up the... oh, this is 2019. Where is the... here's the newest one right here. This shows you the potential atmospheric river here. I don't know. That's really not much of a one. It looks like it's tapping into some moisture. This is the total precipitable water content. Of course, you know, there's these higher numbers right here across the equator area are the extreme regions of precipitation. But here's that storm system that's coming in. It looks like it will have a little bit of moisture associated with it as it runs into California and the Pacific Northwest. But it's crazy to see how these bands of rain or these bands of moisture can potentially bring precipitation to the, you know, the areas away from the equator. It's really cool to see. This Earth is actually super dynamic and complex and perfectly designed in order to, you know, create somewhat equal areas of precipitation out here away from the equator. Of course, we've got our deserts all over the place, but hey, all right, even the desert gets rain on occasion. What else? Anything else? I think that's about it, folks. I'm going to jump off here, enjoy this beautiful weekend. I mean, it's not bad. It's sunny out, but it's 75 degrees. I mean, who couldn't ask for a more perfect temperature? 75. We got the chance of rain coming up here Monday for us. Should be pretty nice. All right. Have a good one. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later tonight. Stay safe out there, and we'll chat at you guys soon.